What I'm going to do, actually, is I'm going to read to you guys something I wrote that I think is within the frame of what we've been talking about here. It's a piece that I wrote on resilience, which I think is fitting, considering this is a forum held by the Sun Valley Institute of Resilience. And then with a call to action at the end. I don't think I need this.
Love.
I forgot my mic's on.
Resilience. The capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. Toughness. A word that's often used to positively characterize someone or something. A word often used to inspire the change makers, organizers, and the leaders. We often forget, though, in our world dominated by social constructs, in our world dominated by hierarchies, that resilience is not always grasped for or striven towards. Resilience is absolutely necessary. Some of us are blessed with the ability to withstand the unthinkable in our blood, in our brains, in our ancestry, and in our history. My mother migrated from Trujillo, Honduras to Brooklyn, New York, overcoming language barriers, racism, sexism, and xenophobia at the age of 16. Her mother made this journey before her, leaving behind a family, crossing an unknown land, only to be subjected to a society that couldn't even see her as human, but rather for some paper money that we've determined is necessary for a fulfilled survival. They've sacrificed to provide me with a life that could allow me mobility to be happy, to be successful. They understood giving up their own comforts to protect a life not even introduced to them yet. This is what we've been asking those in positions of leadership to do for years in regards to ways in which we protect our land and protect our communities. This concept is so foreign to them that they still act in ways that could cause irreparable damage to youth and generations to come. Resilience isn't learned, it's given to you by the adversities life has awarded you. This is why, in order for us to appropriately fight the powers that hand away pieces of our environment for profit, we must enlist the people who have been on the margins of society forever. Had the women in my family been born into a different reality, maybe an easier one, they would have never been gifted with their strength. It took me 2 decades of being Latinx, Black, and queer for me to realize that I've developed mechanisms for resilience that I didn't even know I had. I was born existing as a person who would always need protection from those in power, and I'm not alone. This is the case for a lot of people who don't fit the mold of what society upholds. People who are of color, people who identify as women, people who are poor, people who are queer. In today's world, we uphold resilience as a necessary tactic for change, but ignore those who have been utilizing it to survive since the day they became themselves. The people on the front lines of the issue that plague our society have been born with one of the most integral skills for fighting their misfortune. It is a responsibility of those with privilege who recognize the issues and have the capability to dissect gatekeeping language, to respect all of the inherent strength that already exists within marginalized communities, and provide platforms for that strength to be shared and highlighted. The resilience of these communities is tested every day around the world. Inuit communities in Alaska facing coastal degradation, Black communities in the bayou facing rising sea levels, whole nations of people who are being relocated due to a climate disaster that they haven't even perpetuated. When we consider climate disaster, we have to consider that those being impacted have historically faced hostility from outsiders, protectors, institutions implemented under the guise of order. We're at a point in our history where we see the faults of the imperious world that we've arrived at and manifested every day, whether through environmental racism, police brutality, gun violence, unfair distributions of wealth, or one of the many other injustices that exist in today's world. Climate change impacts all humans in the way that it puts our main life support at risk of degrading to a point of no return. This current situation comes as a result of major disregard for underrepresented communities. This major disregard for underrepresented communities comes as a result of the exploitative culture of those who have instead learned from the people of those who could have instead learned from the people they colonized, those who could have learned the beauty in survival, those who could have learned the beauty in hardship, those who could have learned the beauty in protecting generations that are to come next. Climate change is impacting those who have the most to teach our culture. And so this is my call to action. This is what I ask you to do. It's time that we stand up and ask the figureheads tasked with representing a diverse array of human lives to listen to the people who know everything there is to know about preserving their existence. We have shown them that resilience is created in communities that they ignore. We have shown the world that ignorance has been breeding strength for some time now and that we intend on using every single ounce of power that we have. I ask you to uphold your neighbors and your community members who have never been held by those in power. Do it for people like me, do it for yourself, and most importantly, do it for a future where all of us can thrive together.
I'll be full of that.
Oh.